All right, we are here to deliver another 40 minutes or so of ear candy for all our faithful listeners out there. We'll be discussing the very controversial platinum-selling artist Macklemore. We'll be discussing whether is he really a self-made man. We'll be discussing the imagery of rock stars today, and we'll be discussing his video "And We Danced." And to join me in this discussion is the co-host of Getting Jiggy with Dark Souls. He is the apprentice of Charlie Rose. He is the desecrator of souls. He is the general of the legions of hell. He is wicked Nick Adams. And I am the author of Riding Space Mountain, which you can find at ridingSpaceMountain.blogspot.com. I am the high priest of the Sleaze Synod. I am the personal living embodiment of carnal lust. I am Superstar Sleaze. You can find me at Superstar Sleaze, SLEEZE, and you can find Nick at Bowser Pride on Twitter. And this episode is brought to you by King Diamond and Merciful Fate. Hail Satan!
Wow, I sound so metal.
We gotta do the Hail Satan, right? Halloween's 2 days away. I know this is going to be tape delayed.
Yes, it'll be probably 2 weeks ago by the time I finish editing it, but we'll see.
How many listeners do you think we just lost there?
With all the metal talk?
With all the satanic, names right there.
Well,
you're a desecrator of souls. Christopher Kilborn is fucking terrified of you right now.
And the commander of the legions of hell.
This is true.
Don't forget that, Martin.
You are my boss. I'm just the high priest of a Sleaze Synod.
Yeah.
If you ever become Facebook friends with me at Martin Boulevard, you would find that is my occupation.
So yeah, what we're discussing Macklemore today?
We are discussing the man with so much indie cred it hurts.
Yes,
Macklemore.
And we laughed and had a really, really, really good time. Take my hand, let's have a blast, and remember this moment for the rest of our lives. Our lives. Oh, 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 oh. Tonight, cause tonight's the night, am I right? Dance! Feels like a night for a party. My niche, so naughty. There's a knock on the door, it's the neighbors. Quick cock blocking, we're having a hoedown. You hose down, don't let me pull my hose out. Cause it's big, long, pink, strong. I've been known the dance like all night long.
For those who don't know, he's the rapper from Seattle. Probably most well known for the song Thrift Shop. Came out, I think, earlier this year.
Thrift Shop was the number one. Also, Can't Hold Us. The ceiling can't hold us. Well, why can't the ceiling hold you? Wouldn't it be the floor? He's so fucking witty. Damn you, Macklemore.
So I'm sensing some hostility, Martin. What are your initial thoughts on Macklemore?
This is where the hostility stems from. I'm a glam metal fan of the guys from Seattle. Stops and ends right there. Seattle sucks.
They killed your music.
They killed my music. Damn them. So that's my big beef with Macklemore is the Seattle. But we're going to be discussing "And We Dance." See, we got indie cred because we're going to do the video before all the videos.
Yeah, so I believe this song is from a couple years ago, and then the video was made in 2011.
Correct. You did it under the writing credits of David Bowie, who is a famous glam rock artist from the 70s, and he actually dresses up as he doesn't dress up as Ziggy Stardust per se. He doesn't have like a red mullet, but the way he dresses up is he uses a golden jumpsuit, which is popular with glam rock artists such as Sweet and Slade and I don't know if T-Rex and Mark Bolan ever did the jumpsuit, but he was definitely going for a 1970s glam rock.
Yeah, and he sort of affected a British accent as well.
That's true.
in
Yes.
this song/video.
Yes. Glam rock is the indie credibility version of glam metal.
Yeah, it's
like,
sort of
be cool and hip and like David Bowie and T-Rex, but God forbid you liked Motley Crue or Poison.
Well, I think it's kind of the same aesthetic applied to rock as that was eventually applied to metal. It just has more indie cred because it was never popular. I mean, never really popular like glam metal was.
Yeah, it was actually pretty. It was a pretty big deal in Britain. You'll usually see on the bands that they have number ones in Britain, but almost none of them crossed over to America. David Bowie only crossed over post glam rock. He was only glam rock for like the early 70s, and then he switched into the David Bowie we know and love.
Yeah, then clearly Macklemore in this video is, I don't know, paying homage or just...
Well, I think what he's really trying to do is show that you got to look bitchin' as all hell to really rock a party. And that's the same damn philosophy I've always used. You got to stand out, and you got to get the people excited and moving. So, no, the big thing, the two things that I wanted to point out about the video that I appreciated, numero uno, was the fact that when I went to college, I noticed that there's definitely two types of parties. There's the type of party where people are just kind of, slinging the beer pong ball, people kind of, sitting on the couch, what have you. And, that was something that never really did it for me.
Mm.
Once I, was over 21, hitting Rick's in Ann Arbor, hitting the Phoenix Landing here in Cambridge, the Hong Kong in Cambridge, I found the club scenes more for me. It's high energy. I'm a high energy individual. And I can really express myself and get out there and join with everyone else as we just go hard and we sweat. But, right at the beginning when he just friggin' takes that beer pong ball, chucks it into the street and says, basically he says a really, stupid, obvious statement, but it's a statement that's true. In order to have a dance party, you gotta fucking dance. So everyone went and started going crazy for the glam rock super god. Kind of like how it works when I go out to the Hong Kong and the friggin' Phoenix Landing. Story time with Martin Cuddy.
Of course.
I walked into a club one time, and friggin', I'm just going, and it's like 5 minutes. Swear to God, I was in there for like 5 minutes. Girl all of a sudden just friggin' flashes me. He comes up to me afterwards, and he goes, dude, it took you 5 minutes what it takes me all night to do. That's what Macklemore is inspiring in all those folks, is just that energy and that, the ability to just, express all that all at once instead of, being chilled out. I I remember that was like my mantra like 2 or 3 years ago, just the revolution against chill. I didn't want to chill with nothing. I was just a hyper crazy dude. One of my favorite quotes from girl affectionately known as Heroin Chick, Sophie. I loved your sober ways, but your cocaine attitude. Greatest compliment paid to me.
I think that's pretty accurate.
So what do you think about that first point?
Well, when I was in college, I would have to say I was a sitting on the couch all-star at parties.
Sitting on.
So, but I agree. I like this. I found the video and song. I didn't like it really, but I didn't dislike it, which, as we'll talk about later, is a very big departure from the rest of Macklemore's catalog for me. I just thought it was kind of generic, but I agree with the points, I guess.
Right.
I'm not much of a dancer. It's really not for me, but I do think that a lot of parties get really boring because no one wants to do anything.
That's right, yeah.
You got to put effort into the parties. I'm not saying they have to be dances, but if you're hosting a party, you put some effort in to make it entertaining.
Yeah, you gotta have a certain energy and buzz to it. Like a lot of parties would fall flat and kind of would just like even beer pong can be interesting. I know it's a tough line to flirt with. I'm pretty good at it because forever race, and I'm like competitive, but with like, I kind of have some ability to socially know where to stop and end. But like, if you had a beer pong game where instead of like, they're just tossing, you were talking some shit back and forth, and that's a little bit more interesting to me. But God, man, I don't know how many times I watched beer pong games that were just like friggin', just throwing it, and nobody was like really discussing
doing it for the sake of doing it.
Yeah, it was just bore fest.
Yeah, I think the message here, I guess, is that, if you want to have a fun party, you got to be fun.
That's exactly right. And I lost my point on that. But anyways, so then this is why I think you can agree with me. The video is much better than the song. Yes or no?
Yes, and only that the song is very forgettable. I honestly kind of forgot it since I watched it. I don't remember what it was about. Well, I know what it was about. I don't remember what the song at all was like. The video I can remember, at least.
Video was much better. And then the other point that I wanted to point out about the video is a point that I definitely talked to you about a couple months ago. And it's something that I think really proves the staying power of glam metal. A lot of people like to shit on glam metal as this fad. It was shallow. It didn't bring anything to music. It was just, fluff. But at the end of the day, when people think of rock stars to this day, they think of the rock stars of 1989, even though nobody is dressed like that since 1989.
Yeah.
And this video kind of reinforces that, because in order to get everyone excited to bring that rock and roll energy, does Macklemore dress like a hipster from 2009 or 2011? No, he dresses up like a glam rock god because glam is fun.
Yeah. Now, one point on that though, I totally agree that it's very interesting that to this day, 25 years later basically, the image of a rock star has not changed at all, even though there are no rock stars like that. But I wonder how ironic Macklemore was trying to be.
Okay, you got a point. There is, with hipsters like himself, you always do have to play towards irony. And that is a tough point.
Like, how much is he making fun of the rock star idea and like the party dude idea?
Yeah, it's like an interesting tangent, and another reason why I dislike hipsterism, and I didn't realize until now, and I'm glad you brought it up, is there's a band called Steel Panther, and I want to give Steel Panther as much love as I can, because to me they are by far the best band that's come out of America in the 2000s. They're a hilarious glam metal, heavy metal band. And they do comedy metal. Basically, it's glam metal style with really, over-the-top sexual lyrics, a lot of drug references. And because it comes off as so humorous, and because it almost seems like they're mocking their own genre, when I first showed this to my friends in college, they liked it, but they thought they were a parody band of glam metal, and because of their ironic outlook as hipsters, they could only see Steel Panther as making fun of glam metal, which couldn't be further from the truth. Michael Starr is got to be like the world's biggest fan for David Lee Roth, and all those guys are huge heavy metal fans. They all played in heavy metal bands before they played in Steel Panther, and the way they thought about it was, how can we make heavy metal cool and relevant? Well, Spinal Tap did a comedy metal band, but they are doing it in a really, obtuse, in-your-face, obnoxious way. And I don't think you could call them. They're maybe it's an homage to glam metal, but I think they're just trying to evolve with the times and still make glam metal relevant. But I think it's interesting that the hipsters that I was hanging out with, and these kids were definitely what you would classify as hipsters, could only see this from an ironic vantage point.
Yeah, I think you got a point there, and I would probably point out that what I see is the difference between parody, which is often, good-natured. Like, I think they are parodying glam metal, but because they like it, and they realize it's kind of funny, and they like it's kind of funny. Like, I think all metal should be parodied in such a way at times.
Exactly.
Because it's ridiculous. It's over the top. That's part of its appeal. But if you can like that and also find it comedic at times.
Yeah, I mean, the difference is it's really simple, is to laugh with someone as opposed to laugh at them.
Yeah, and I want to give, it's hard to tell from this Macklemore video how much he's, your interpretation of, screw boring parties where people just sit around playing beer pong. Let's all bring the energy to have a fun party, or how much he's making fun of rock stars and like bro parties and stuff, and saying I kind of lean towards your interpretation, but even just like the putting on the accent and the rest of Macklemore's personality, it's hard to tell. That's all.
Yeah, it just seems weird to make fun of a pretty revered guy from the 1970s. Like, what's really the point? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like he's making fun of decadent rappers.
Yeah, which we'll get to. And but to transition to that, actually, one thing that you brought up, your idea of the rock star image has not changed. I think the only new sort of pop culture image that's similar to that's arisen in the last 25 years is the hip-hop star. And we kind of talked about it last week with Lorde and how she was anti sort of the materialism that entails.
Right,
and I think
decadence and all that.
And I think Macklemore has gained a lot of popularity from also doing that same thing with a song like Thrift Shop, which is... Right,
but he does it, and I know you'll definitely want to talk about this, but he does do it in a little different way. He doesn't call anybody out. Lorde is calling people out in that chorus, and he does it with a sense of humor, whereas Lorde is like ultra serious.
I agree, but I read an article in preparation for this on Vice magazine, which I generally don't like because it's talk about being hipsters making fun of other people. This whole magazine, but they did have a blog about it was a hip hop blogger for Vice, I guess, and he talked about why he hated Macklemore. And one thing he wrote is that it's hip hop for people who don't like hip hop. So that's like Macklemore really could not be further from your stereotypical hip hop star. And I'm not even just talking because he's white, because there's you could look at Eminem he's very different from that. He's very not in that lyrically very different and socially very different, and just the
he's
kind
a
of
rapper
music
that's tapping into the populism and hipsterism and the 1% of the 99%, as I like to call them.
I guess I see what you mean, yeah. But yeah, and I think that's kind of a unfair criticism, but I see where that guy is coming from. And I do like a lot of hip hop. And I'm not so snobby as it's hip hop for people who don't they don't like real hip hop, but because I'm not into hip hop enough to be snobby, but he does seem like part of his appeal is that if you are sort of opposed to other mainstream rappers, either just because you don't like them socially or because you don't like their music, you can pick up on Macklemore. This is what hip hop should be. He's got a good message, and he's not, wearing gold teeth and
gold chains.
It's like
my man Trinidad James. I love Trinidad James.
Exactly. There's an example of someone, if you were like, ugh, I don't like that kind of guy. I like Macklemore because he's different and smart, and I think there's...
let me... I did a poll. I did a survey.
Yes.
I like to do surveys.
Let's get to the poll. This is a good point for the poll.
All right. So, hold on. Let me make sure. Hopefully I didn't delete all the text messages. But, so the survey question was, basically I listed off, he's got a platinum selling album, 2 number ones, bunch of awards. Does he deserve does he deserve all that credit? Is his success and popularity warranted? And the one that really came back to me that was counter to your point was a guy by the name of Jimmy Jam Crockett. Went to school with me at University of Michigan for chemical engineering, and he said he's bringing hip hop back to the thinking man's version of hip hop. He says hip hop is too much of that big booty crap. Talk, Nick.
That kind of makes me angry on a couple levels. So I'm sorry to Jimmy John Crockett or whoever this was.
Jimmy Jam.
Jimmy Jam.
Also goes by Gorgeous Jimmy Crockett. Too.
Gorgeous Jimmy Crockett. I'm sure you're very gorgeous, but first of all, I do kind of like the big booty jams or whatever. Like, we just talked about how he made a song about having fun partying. Like, a lot of that kind of rap is just party rap. And you can't say, oh, Thinking Man on the one hand, and then praise Macklemore, who did the exact same thing. It's just like a different style of party.
Yeah, but Jimmy Jam didn't probably listen to that song.
Okay.
So you gotta...
So, but there's tons of Thinking Man's rap, if you want that.
I'm sure there is.
And this is actually something the thing that I think most annoys me about Macklemore is that people think he's smart, and he thinks he's smart, and he's actually good, and he's actually just very bland, and his message is very simple. That's not bad on its own, but I guess it just kind of bothers me that people, for I think some problematic reasons, have decided to elevate him as a good example of what rap could be, even though he's very not generic. He's just kind of, like I said, his songs are very forgettable, except for maybe a hook sung by someone else. And his rapping is pretty forgettable.
That was one thing. He gets the best people to sing his hooks.
Yeah, but that's not him. And
it's not him. No, but those hooks, man, are sweet. He's got whoever the hell's doing it, because he's got a partner in crime by the name of Ian Lewis, and whoever's doing the talent, who's got the eye for talent, knows what's up.
Fair enough, and I think that's a point in their favor. But back to the Thinking Man, like, are you a thinking man if you decide that shopping at a thrift shop is smarter than spending a lot of money on designer clothes? I mean, are you a thinking man if you think gay marriage is okay? Like, those are so simple. But you are a thinking
man if you come up with the lyric, the ceiling can't hold us rather than the floor can't hold us, because it's fucking opposite.
I don't get your opposite thing. Like, the ceiling can't hold them because they're jumping, right?
No, I thought the ceiling couldn't hold... Oh, shit! That's what that was? He's way smarter than me.
I guess...
The ceiling couldn't... I thought the floor couldn't hold us.
So you must be a Macklemore fan, Martin.
Oh, fuck, man. Macklemore's way smarter than I am.
I'm sorry to embarrass you of...
No, but it would make more sense if he said the floor couldn't hold us, because they're going to fall through the floor.
I'm getting upset. But do you understand where I'm coming from? I might be too harsh, but
like, I'm more upset that I just made myself look like a moron. I finally understood why the ceiling couldn't hold us.
Yes, I didn't think it had to be explained. But...
Jeez, Mary and Joseph. Here I am thinking, why? What is he talking about? The roof is above his head. I guess the difference between a ceiling and a roof is kind of what he's going for. All right. So, but anyway, yeah.
Which one of us has a master's degree, Martin? Which one of us?
Yeah, I'm listening to you. I'm kind of on my own wavelength here with the messed up thing. So the thrift shop one. So he just is. It's still the same anti-consumerism message, and I feel what he's trying to do here is he knows what he wants to tap into. He understands there's a big crowd of that, and he realizes there's a void of people a void that hasn't been filled that a lot of people can tap into. So he created the image, the thrift store, and knew that it was going to sell well. So, and he worked really hard. He invested a lot of friggin' time. The way they did it was, I thought, really smart. They did a bunch of singles instead of releasing an album. and they just kept touring and just reinvesting the money in themselves within their own product. And then by building up a local following, they were able to, get leverage for a distribution deal, finally got themselves on radio, and voila, they're superstars. So good luck, it's awesome for them. They put in the friggin' time and effort. Yeah, the message is really simple, but it's effective. And so I don't find him that awful. I don't listen to him. His voice is kind of annoying to me.
Yeah, that's I agree.
So,
but
yeah, I usually flick the channel for him. What's weird? He really likes talking about how he has a big cock.
Yeah, and
well, no, I'm to answer your question, Nick, 9 inches. I mean,
I was going to ask. Yes.
I just thought it was interesting on the thrift shop and we danced. Both times he talked about it.
There's another annoying thing. If you talk about it, it's not big. That's all I'm going to say. But anyway, I think in our culture there's a desire to have like Macklemore is filling a void, as he said. There's like a desire to make someone like him is wanted. Basically, he's
the William Jennings Bryan of our generation. Free silver, baby.
I'm not sure how that works, but there's a desire for a clean hip hop star that seems kind of intelligent, but it's still very accessible, and is distinctly. I don't know how to say this in a politically correct way, but he's very not black.
Right, he is not. He is made for white hipsters. What I meant with William Jennings Bryan was, as you probably know, he's a populist candidate for president for 4 different times.
Yes.
Free silver movement. Basically, he was the voice of the voiceless, the guy who talked for the disenfranchised agrarian farmers. And in Macklemore's idea, he is a voice for the voiceless. The college kids who are thrifty, college kids who don't have a lot of money. He's like college radio in the 80s, REM.
Yeah.
That idea where he is trying to aspire to be, he masquerades as deep, appealing to your senses like, oh, wow, well, he is denying himself materialistic possessions, so therefore he is on a higher plane than the rest of us, and all that sort of bullshit that, comes along with the territory, that when you're cynical and jaded, and when you think the system is out to get you, and the system's been rigged against you, that you fall and you see this guy, and this guy's changing the system from within.
Rigged against all those white college kids.
Right, white college kids, man. And this is something that you bring up, and I don't know how to say this in the politically correct way, but ever since the fall of grunge, I think there hasn't been a cool white guy in music for a real long time. I think if I'm a white guy, like I said, I like Trinidad James, and I like plenty of black rappers. But at the end of the day, I'm not black. I'm still kind of looking for that white guy that I can associate with. And for me, I found those guys in the 80s. That's who I found for myself. But I think a lot of people, there's indie rock bands.
Yeah.
Like I don't listen to indie rock. What's the one that Arcade Fire.
Oh, yeah.
Of Montreal. There's those bands, I guess, but there's no cool, badass white people.
I guess I see what you mean. Like for me,
Eminem was the one guy. But
I always wanted, but Eminem, your average suburban, hipster person is not identifying with Eminem.
Right, no, not anymore. But I meant when we were growing up.
Yeah. I think for me, I've always wanted music as an experience, an escape, or as you said last week, wish fulfillment.
Right.
So I never really looked to someone I could identify with.
Right, and I agree with you. See, I identified with the 80s glam movement because to me, that was how I could do wish fulfillment. Like, there was nobody in the rock scene, the hip-hop scene, that I fully identify with for my wish fulfillment. I think...
I guess I do the same for the death metal then, when I was in high school, especially.
And the way to think about it with Macklemore isn't... You relate to him. That is part of the appeal, is the relatability, which me and you, we agree that relatability is really not important. But there is wish fulfillment. He's the smartest, the wittiest white guy in the room.
Yeah.
You could be that guy in that room. Man, how many guys have wanted to be like, damn, I'm so ironic right now, sitting on my couch with my circle of friends, and we're doing a little bit of metaphorical circle jerk here.
Yeah.
And,
well, I don't know, with his large unit.
In this room. And everyone recognizes it.
I see what that's a good point. I hadn't thought about it that way, but I guess in that it makes me uncomfortable that people... I feel like there has to be this competition or this rejection of, like, mainstream rappers because they don't identify with them. You know, and I understand if for most people they're not going to identify with, like, a guy rapping about, like, gold chains or selling cocaine or whatever. But I feel like when you're in hip-hop and you're, like, specifically saying we're bringing back the thinking man's hip-hop, or we're, like, rejecting the materialistic kind of look. It's fine to like the more, like, a different style of hip hop, because there's tons of styles of hip hop and tons of people do it, and, you know, rapping about drugs selling in Atlanta or rapping about going to a thrift shop in Seattle, like that's a good part of hip hop is that it's often very relatable. But I feel like it's kind of problematic how people want this kind of hip-hop as, like, rejection of, like, the more traditional, like, black hip-hop, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think my big problem, and another big problem with it, is just, like, how sarcastic it is. How, I don't, see, it's interesting. I actually kind of, I like some comedy in my music. Not like laugh out loud funny, but more like tongue-in-cheek, sort of like winking humor. But like outright biting sarcasm annoys me.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Macklemore just comes off as, you know, is very sarcastic, very ironic. And he's coming off, and it's just such a bratty emotion.
Yeah.
Like, the way metal is like in your face. It's either like super aggressive when you're listening to, you know, death or thrash metal, or if you're listening to glam metal, it's, you know, super sexual, it's real base human instincts, and like pop is just like super fun. But like the 90s and the 90s and now, or Macklemore, because I feel like he belongs in the 90s, just came off as like, you know, so depressed and so sarcastic, and, you know, you come off as more of, you're not angry, like the punks of the 70s. Like, they were angry. They were going to do something about it. And, like, I wish that there was more anger. It's more that sit on your couch and mope more than anything.
I mean, to be honest, I definitely see that in the mid-90s, but I don't really see Macklemore as being depressive in any way. I just feel like it's sort of fully sarcastic, and at times preachy. And I think, you know, I always roll my eyes when someone goes out of their way to describe someone as sarcastic, or themselves as sarcastic or ironic. Okay, because that means I know they think they're really, like, doing some good social criticism, or they're really funny or smart. Yeah. But I think it's not. Like, sarcasm is, like, pretty low level humor. Yes, yeah. And it gets old really fast.
Teenager, you know, like all teenagers, man, I was
sarcastic. Yeah, it's very teenage. It's very juvenile.
And you know what? Teenagers suck.
Yeah. And, like, to be fair, we listen to some of the more teenage genres of music in metal, which is just juvenile in a different way, I guess, just in terms of, as you said, base human urges, whether aggressive or sexual.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm just more annoyed by irony and sarcasm. Not that they can be used well and are funny or can be used to make points. But I just feel like if that's your main weapon, if that's your main thing, or if you're never genuine, I mean, he is genuine in that. I won't criticize him about the gay marriage song, because as simple as it seems to me, living in Boston and in Canada, that's actually like an important issue. So, especially in hip hop. So I'm not going to criticize him about that. But the other stuff, when he's more sarcastic,
Nick on the same love song,
and he's being more genuine there. Like I don't really like that song, and it doesn't really have any relevance to me. But like, I can't criticize him for having a genuine, good social message, even if it's a boring song. The other stuff, the thrift shop, especially, it's just so.
Yeah, but so this is the thing, Nick. And I think this is where, this is why we sometimes need the other side to come on. But I think this is the other side's argument. The other side's argument is that, all the big booty hoes, all the pop stars, all the metal guys, they're just living these artificial constructions. They're not human beings. And to them, and not that I'm saying that Macklemore isn't. I think Macklemore is just like them. I think he's a gimmick and he's a construction of himself. He's not a construction of a brain trust. He came up with it on his own, but what have you. And they see this as genuine. They see the Katy Perrys, the Keshas as fake.
Yeah.
And this to them is genuine, even though to us, we like the idea that we know that's fake, and we just enjoy it for what it is. It's when somebody tells us they're real, and we know they're fake, it fucking annoys us.
Exactly. You got it perfectly. That is what annoys me about Macklemore, and that's what annoys me about Lorde. Last week we were talking about.
But you know what would annoy me the most?
What's that?
And what annoys me the most is when someone is fake and then fucking pulls back the curtains too much. And case in point, Kesha will do this on interviews. She has this well-made gimmick, and then I know, I've read enough Kesha interviews, and obviously I've never met the person, as much as I would love to meet her. I've read enough interviews where I know the negative reviews, I know the people who attack the construction bother her. And so sometimes on these interviews, you will see her get defensive, and she will backtrack away from the character. And she will say, look, I'm just like everybody else, and, try to explain that, I don't party. I mean, I party, but she'll say stuff like, I'm always responsible about it, and I remember one time she used the word juxtapose. I'm not saying that she can't be smart. It's just it's kind of ruining the gimmick for me when you're letting me know that you're in on it. Like, you're telling me you're fake. And it's like, no, don't do that. Just let yourself be so I can enjoy it, so that we're not, I don't want to pull the curtain back either.
I'm with you there, and I think that's also, you don't want to humor people that are so dense as to not see what's going on. Like the people who criticize Kesha for being like this ridiculous character, as if she was actually that ridiculous character.
Right. And I think what happens is, as an artist, you kind of want respect. And so when you start getting disrespected and you're putting out music that really is your own, it hurts your feelings.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I don't blame her for that. Yeah,
a good example was I was at a party recently, a house party. Usually I don't go to house parties. I was dressed up. It was actually a Halloween party, so I was actually I was still the weirdest looking person there, but everyone else was kind of dressed up too. So I wasn't sticking out like a sore thumb. And this girl was like, what are you? Hey, well, I'm just I'm a glam metal rock star, because no one knows what the fuck glam metal is. So I usually just say, 80s rock star, and that's deficient for most folk.
Yeah.
So this girl has no idea what the fucking 80s rock star is. And I'm wearing a Pamela Anderson shirt. And it points out that Pamela Anderson is from the 90s. First off, she points out Pamela Robinson's from the 90s. Eye roll. Okay, we get it. You don't know who Pamela Anderson is because you're too fucking smart to watch Baywatch. Great. All right. Her name's Pamela Anderson. She had sex videos with Bret Michaels of Poison, Vince Neil of Motley Crue, and Tommy Lee of Motley Crue. The woman, it symbolizes 80s rock in a female version. Okay? So, she's going on and on, trying to critique my 80s rock outfit for God knows what reason. I go on a nice rant. I punctuate with the fact that, yes, I am a host of Vivid Technicolor Radio, so whatever I says, go. And, she ended up leaving. And, so that was me not humoring her. I wasn't gonna back down from the point that I, am, this is what my gimmick is. I wasn't gonna try to pull back and be like, well, actually, I got a master's degree from the University of Michigan in chemical engineering. I can add and all that shit. I went full bore, I'm gonna live the gimmick. I'm not gonna let this girl beat me.
Good. I'm glad.
Yeah. So I know, and chances are probably smarter than her because I'm a pretty smart fucking dude.
Well, you don't have to go down that road, but I think it's like it is annoying when people don't realize that all music to some extent, all art, because music is art, is a construction.
It's an artificial human construction, I know.
And you can construct something that people connect with. And I think music is, for me at least, is the thing that most closely connects with my emotions. But it doesn't have to be real, quote, I don't know how to, that's not the greatest word, or authentic.
Right.
To connect with you. You can connect with a science fiction thing or something out of someone's imagination. That's not real at all. But it connects with you. It's not about how authentic something is.
But and I think what was I going to say? Well, I think what happens is a lot of these people don't respect pop music.
Yeah.
And so they're looking for music they respect. There's a respect factor instead of a likability factor. And so Macklemore, to them, and it's amazing that he's actually considered a respectable artist.
Yeah.
Given the content of his lyrics and his rather lame social commentary.
Yeah, I mean exactly because it's social commentary that's, as I mentioned, it's such I wouldn't even say social commentary 101. It's like the social commentary course you take at the community college before your first year of university. It's not wrong. I'm not even going to disagree with him. I think he's right. It's just so facile.
Oh yeah. No, what's funny though, Nick, is that so I've been dressing the way I've dressed for years now. For as long as I can, freshman or sophomore year of college. And what's funny is every single time there is some weird craze that always pops up that kind of semi-mimics what I wear, and I kind of have to live through this shit. So I had the LMFAO thing, and I was
yeah.
Well, dress up as LMFAO. It's okay, let's go with it. You just embrace it. Just go hard. And then most recently, this guy loves to shop at thrift stores, obviously. He's just throwing the store thing in my face. Whatever. All right, when thrift song comes on, I throw up all my chains, all my jewelry, and I'm just you got to embrace it. Because guess what? I'm going to outlast that trend because I'm going to freaking keep wearing this. And then the next person who kind of similar to me, I'm waiting for the person who wears Zubas. Because then I'm really toast. I mean, I don't know if they all kind of got close with the zebra print pants, but they were wearing zebra print spandex. But the person who wears Zubas, then I'm toast. Then everyone's going to be thinking I'll copy them.
When really you're the trendsetter. Sure,
I really am the trendsetter in these situations. So no, but I think it's cool that I live through all these different trends, and it's just just keep plugging away, But so where are we at now?
Why don't we don't have too much more time. We're at 44 minutes or
Okay.
so. But were there any other interesting poll responses you got? What was the general consensus?
My good friend John Albanese, King Cog, told me that the best rapper in the game was The Game. I said,
Okay.
oh, really? He goes, Martin, you shouldn't take my text seriously. And then I texted him back, John, you should take my text seriously.
The Game was pretty good.
I have no idea if The Game was any good. I didn't know who the hell he was.
I'm not going to say he's the best in the game. I'm not even going to talk like that, but The Game is good. They're a good rapper.
Aaron was a big fan of Kanye.
Okay, yeah.
As the better rapper. The guy who actually exposed this video to us was a big fan of Tech Nine.
Okay.
His name, by the way, Oli, deserves a shout out for showing us the video. By far, Macklemore's best video. Oh, this is something I want to point out. So Macklemore is DIY, do it yourself. Same the punk rock movement. Johnny Ramone on that guitar, not knowing how to play the guitar. I'm sorry, I don't know which Ramone actually plays the guitar. Sid Vicious on the bass, not knowing how to play the bass. But what I think is funny is when the fuck did DIY become 7-minute music video? Friggin' 2 minutes, 3 minutes max. What is this 7-minute music video epic going on here? Like a friggin' motion picture. And I'm thinking to myself, this is what the common man is supposed to relate to? I think that is just, what's funny is, obviously it works, so I can't friggin' knock the guy for it, but how in hell's name is the common man supposed to relate to a friggin' 7-minute music video with you in like a friggin' wolf hat in the snow and on like a pirate ship? I was like, what the hell is this? This is bogus.
Well,
I can't hold us video. And you know what's really friggin' pretentious?
What's that?
How do we never mention this? The Macklemore bridge section with the trumpets, and then the woman singing the Macklemore with the vocal soloing. I can't sing. So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Shit, pretentious.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I was trying to avoid the pretentious word because that's such an easy criticism to level, but I mean he's kind of getting to that point.
Where it was just that I remember took the cake for me. I mean, I think to me, punk rock, even though I'm not the world's biggest fan of punk rock, what it meant to me as a person was I can pick up a guitar, play for 2 minutes, and I can make a catchy song. I can do this. Punk rock was the ultimate relatability genre.
Yeah.
That's the idea. You were the working man, you were in a blue collar, you were in New York City, and that was it. And so that was the idea. This is like the lamest common man music ever.
Well, it's the common man with a MacBook, an iMovie.
It's not only the common man with the MacBook, it's a common man with who is going to college and stuff and trying to be thrifty. So
we are kind of picking on people that
man per se, but
we're picking on younger people.
Right. But there was one thing I do want to mention. There's a Billboard, there's an NPR article, kind of blasting him for the myth of the self-made man. And the self-made man, no matter who it is, Andrew Carnegie, John Rockefeller, whoever you want to make, nobody's a self-made man. You can't do it in this world alone.
Nope.
So even though NPR kind of blasted Macklemore saying, well, he portrays himself as the ultimate self-made man, rejecting record labels, doing this on an indie record, proving that, he says in his song, this is for the people, and I think, he doesn't say fuck the record labels, but at some point, he says, get rid of the record labels, my music is just for the people. They exposed in quotations that he used a distribution group, the Alternative Independent Distribution, I can't remember what his name was, and it's an arm of Warner. But at the end of the day, you can't do this on your own. You can't spread your message without a distribution label. He put in the hard work throughout his career up in Seattle, playing those clubs, creating a following, and he earned his cred by doing that, and therefore was able to leverage that into a good deal so that his credibility could make him money. I ain't knock anybody for that. He put in his hard work. He did it. And the NPR article trying to blast him and expose him for that, bullshit.
I'm with you. Like, that's not a criticism that you need to level at him. I mean, there's plenty of other rappers that do that with mixtapes and everything. That don't get the mainstream appeal, probably because I think Macklemore is specifically hitting a certain demographic.
He is,
or a role that's not. There was a role that was not filled before him.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll go away soon. I don't think he'll be this popular. People might get tired of him, but I do think that him or someone like him, that's a role that sort of unfortunately, needs to be there. Not needs to be there, but will be there because there's a demand.
Right, there is a demand, and I guess I want to point that out because I remember in high school history, like our history teacher, Mr. Sansoni, thought he was so cool for like exposing the myth of the self-made man. The myth of the self-made man obviously exists. No human being is going to do anything on their own.
Yeah, I mean that's part of we should not get into this, but it's part of the problem of American cultures that we want that, and some believe the idea of a self-made man, and then so shame people that do need community help. But anyway, that's too much to talk about here.
But so I like to end these things on a positive note.
Yes,
you get to end it on a positive note, talking about how Macklemore did work his ass off for his career.
Yeah, you can't knock him for that. I mean,
yeah. All right. Was there anything else you wanted to say?
No, I think I probably offended some people. Got angry a little bit, but I think I said everything I wanted to say.
That's you angry. I don't want to see when you're like enraged or furious.
I don't get enraged or furious. Although, don't make me, Martin. I'm warning you.
All right. Well, if somebody's all revved up and they're looking for a place to go, then they better choose Vivid Technicolor Radio.
And now to play us out.
And we danced, and we cried, and we laughed, and had a really, really, really